Adam. That's what we're talking about. The deepest, innermost point. Benafshe shel Adam, in the soul of a person. In Nakudas Mesirus Hanefesh Lashem. Is that Nakuda where a person is willing to give up everything? The Nakuda Mesirus Hanefesh Lashem. Zo Kodesh HaKadoshim HaPnimi Shabo Misnotzetzes HaAchtus HaGmur Shel HaAdam Bebaro. That is the point within a person. That's Kodesh Kodashim. The Kodesh Kodashim in physical space, of course, is in Yerushalayim. In the person, this is what is called Yechida. That's the Kodesh Kodashim HaPnimi Shabo Misnotzetzes HaAchtus HaGmur Shel HaAdam Bebaro. And in that part of us, there is shining that absolute unity with the Creator, Or HaYechida. And that's called Or HaYechida. Ad sheshav lizbatel boy kefi shahaya kodim shenifred haneshama v'yard lislabesh b'chomer or b'levush chaytzeis. It's in that point of who we are that we're able to be misbatel, it's the mid of Hod, to be misbatel before Hashem, as it was before the neshama descended into this physical world, into the guf. Hazik haneshmasi. This zik means this flash of the neshama. This zik of the haneshmasi. Chozer v'neir be'etzem v'seiros halev limsar atzma al kedushas Hashem. We spoke about this a little bit last week. When a person is prepared to die, to give up his life, al kedushas Hashem, he's able for that instant, he's able to experience a taste. He's able to come into contact with that part of himself when there's that Hisaros Halev, Limsa Atzma al Kedushas Hashem, to give himself up. Al Kedushas Hashem, he's able at that moment to experience that deepest part of who he is, Yechida Shebenefesh. Now, what we're going to talk about, of course, is that's not only when a person dies, but it's unquestionably the most powerful experience is for a person is that readiness to give up one's life. Zeu soid elyon shebemsusa nogei ish Yisrael benekudas hakodesh hapnimis b'yoser b'chayev. It's the highest sod, the deepest secret of a person, of a Jew. It's nogei ish, and at that time a person is the ish is nogei benekudas hakodesh hapnimis b'yoser b'chayev, where he's touching that nekudas hakodesh, that point of kedusha. That's the deepest part of who he is. Kabir, and it's awakened in this powerful way. Avodas hayichudim. Yet dvekus b'Hashem Yisborach b'achdus al-yona. There's a whole avoda. We're not going to be learning about it now. There's a whole avoda of yichudim, of attaching oneself to different shemos of Hashem and so on. It's a whole avoda of yichudim, where while being healthy and strong and alive, a person is able to access, to come into that, to enter into that world of Yechida, of the Kodesh Kodashim of who he is. Aken kol kavanis hayichudim. Therefore, all the kavanis of these yichudim. Again, this is a very, very high level. Mostly, this is the Indian of the Arizal and the Rashash. The yichudim, kol kavanis hayichudim v'rozei Hashemos, the secrets of Hashem's names. Einan elu levushim v'hamshachas shel oisem ma'ayan kodesh pnimi. But even all of these kavanas, and all of these, using all of these shemas of Hashem, all of these names of Hashem, all of them are only hamshachas. In other words, all of them are only a way of connecting and attaching oneself to that ma'ayan kodesh pnimi, to that inner wellspring of the Yechida Shebenefesh, or HaYechida. Hanilekes v'nilheves, that is ignited and is burning and burns, v'himosvus adam lomus akdushas Hashem. When the person gives himself over to die, al kiddush Hashem. He kodesh HaKadoshim. That is the kodesh HaKadoshim itself. All of the shemus, all of the chudim, all the kavanas, all the kabbalistic connections and thoughts and so on, all of those are to try to somehow to be able to touch that point of the Yechida Shebenefesh. But the Yechida itself is Kodesh Kodashim of the person, ha'omed bepnimius hakol, that stands at the center, at the inner point of all that exists. L'malam yikol heg v'raya, it's something which is higher and beyond anything that could be explained or expressed in words. L'mal mikol machshava v'kavana mufretes. It's higher than any machshava, any thought, any kavana. Kadam kol yichud v'kol pniyas adam lidvar b'bara. Before any yichud, or any attempt on the part of a person to become attached to Hashem, he has to, on some level, he has to be able to try to connect in some way to this nakuda of achdus. Of achdus means where it's clear that the only true reality that exists is Elokus Hashem. That's the only true reality is God. Zos yasa idei ha'askama ha'gmor limso navshal kedusha Hashem. Now, we're going to see, not going to talk about, I hope to talk about it on Shabbos afternoon, but the Rebbe Elimelech, Schusi, anyone has settled cotton that's printed in all the editions of the Rebbe Elimelech, the other Rebbe Elimelech speaks about a person imagining himself dying al Kiddush Hashem. And the Rebbe Elimelech says that one could be Mekayim the mitzvah midaraisa of Kiddush Hashem every moment, any moment of the day, even when he's walking in the street. If he pauses for a moment and he imagines himself being in such a situation where he is given that choice, either to renounce his connection to Hashem, to Am Yisrael, or to die. And there Rabbi Noach describes it in a very, very graphic way, throwing oneself into a fire, al Kiddush Hashem, and a person is able, with that koach hadimiyum, with the imagination, to mekayim the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem. To be in that place where a person, it's so clear to a person that everything is Hashem, and there's no other purpose in life, there's no other tachlis in life other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hachasefus u'ma'afekes is kedushas ha'achdus ha'atzmis ha'chakuka b'chevyon ha'oiz. That where there's shining in a very clear way, that achdus ha'atzmis that's engraved minekudas ha'yechida ha'pnimis shebekerev ish Yisrael. Nekudas ha'yechida ha'pnimis that's inside shebekerev ish Yisrael. That's what it says in the pasuk, v'nekdashti b'soich b'nei Yisrael. The Kiddush Hashem is besoch b'nei Yisrael, meaning it's in that deepest part of who a Jew is. It doesn't only mean among 10 Jews. Of course, in halacha, Kiddush Hashem, Rabbim, how that takes place, what that means, that's with other people seeing and making a Kiddush Hashem. But the Sfarim HaKadoshim tell us is that V'nekdashti B'soch B'nei Yisrael means that the Iker Kiddush Hashem takes place B'soch B'nei Yisrael, within the Jew himself. B'soch B'nei Yisrael, within the person himself, when he's able to be in that place of Yechidah B'nefesh. And the Chaynus Hagmur, to be completely ready, prepared, and he's come to this place in himself where he's absolutely ready. B'simchas leiv, limsar atzmal Hashem Yisbarach. Limsar atzmal Hashem Yisbarach. To give himself over to Hashem. Hi haderech elyon, lach soif es oisa emes nalamas. That is the highest way. Not the only, but that is the highest and most powerful way. That is the most powerful way, the highest way, to be able to come to this place of Yechidah, to reach this hidden truth. This readiness, that the person is completely on board and prepared to die al Kiddush Hashem. This comes from that place of absolute oneness, of absolute unity and oneness. Kol chelkei ha'havaya, as we spoke about last week, that which is most important to a person is life itself. When life itself is bottled in the face of this metzias of giving one's life up al Kiddush Hashem, so that comes from that place within us that's called Yechidah. So when the person is in this place, kol chelkei havaya hanefradim shel adam, all the different parts of who you are, the intellect, the emotions, and so on, Cannot understand what this means. It's something which is not comprehensible. It's not understood. What is this? Because there is nothing that exists that can envision this idea of not existing, of giving up one's existence. It's the most natural instinct in everything that exists, down to the tiniest little cell, in every animal, in every plant. And everything, all it wants more than anything is to continue on existing. So we can't be Messiah. Is there something more than that, than existence itself? It's something that the mind can't comprehend. And the reason that we can't understand this is because it's something which comes from the deepest part of Kesser, of the crown, which is incomprehensible. And it's Yechida Hatama, it's that part of us that's absolutely pure, Habara that's clear, Haharuga Alecha, that has died countless times in with Jews, thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands and millions of Jews, and millions over the years. Haharuga Alecha have given up their lives. Hatvucha al Shem Kodshach, who have been slaughtered, al Shem Kodshach. Yechidcha li Yechidcha, Hi Haskula. Hapnina Hayikara, this is the greatest treasure. Hapnina Hayikara, the most precious gem, pearl. Perach HaShoshana, flower. Shekol Havayasa Mahusa, Eina Ella, Hishtavus Begufa de Malka. The whole mahus of this is somehow being swept up into the Kivyachal, the body of the king himself, being reunited with the king himself. Kizahusa Betelabo. The person's own identity is completely dissolved in that mitzias of Gufa de Malka, of Kivyachal, the body of the king, not physical, but that reality of Hashem. V'eskol atzmusa mahusa makeres ba'anovus tzedek kinetef mimenu yizbarach. And in that moment, the person recognizes that his entire, with great humility, that his entire mahus is just that he's a drop, that he's a netef, a drop, a piece of God, a drop in the ocean of Elokus. Shviv me'oro, just a spark of Hashem's light. Li piud klal, without any separation. There's a fire, and the person becomes a spark in that fire. There's the ocean of God, and the person returns to being a drop in that ocean. Bonim atan l'Hashem l'keichem. Or Yechida. Kimin ha'ein sof, the bottom of that page, I think it's page 2. No, page 1, right? The end of page 1. Kimin ha'ein sof, nimshach v'nis, this lashon now is from the Rashash. Kimin ha'ein sof, nimshach v'nispashe nitzotz echad. So what is happening at this moment of nikdashti, of a person being killed al Kiddush Hashem? And we're not getting to the conversation. It's a very, very important one in halacha, which I've spoken about in earlier years, usually around Tisha B'Av time, when a person does not want to die, and he resists it, and he's screaming and yelling, "Let me live, and he's killed anyway." Or as it happened in the Holocaust, that we weren't asked, we weren't given a choice, like the stories that we read about at the time of the Inquisition. So you have a choice. You want to convert, you convert. If not, we're going to kill you. So we can understand it. There's an meaning of bechira. The person makes the choice. I'm going to die. I will not convert. So how does all of that work? And is that called Kiddush Hashem, Misal Kiddush Hashem, when the person is screaming and kicking, yelling, "Don't kill me, please, please, please," and then boom, they kill him because he's a Jew. So that's a very, very big discussion in halacha. We're not going into that right now. There are many who say that the mitzvah is that he's being killed because he's a Jew. That's called Kiddush Hashem. There are others who disagree with that. Again, that's not for now. It's still a lechtek Gan Eden, but is that called the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem if it's against the person's will, if he doesn't consent to it, if he doesn't want it, and so on? So, Afapichein, the Svarmak doesn't tell us that even in the person who says no, 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 but at that moment when it's happening, even though we can't measure that in time, the bullet in the head or getting thrown into a fire, we can't measure that in time. But there is somehow a mysterious split second that transcends all time and space, where it's absolutely clear. It's absolutely clear to that person that this is I'm back in the ocean. This is it. This is it. So whether we say Vreira, that Lemafreya, to say that this was Al Das Cain, he just didn't really know, and so on. But that's not important. The question is what's happening at that moment of Kiddush Hashem. So the Rasha says, this is what happens. Kimin ha'ein sof, from the infinite. Nimshach v'nispashet nitzoitz echad, there comes forth one spark, shu b'chinas elokus, which is pure elokus. V'zeh ha'nitzos nislabesh b'koach nitzos echad nivra b'koach otzam he'aroso. And that spark of infinity, of the infinite God, is mislabish, becomes enclosed in one spark of the human being who is created in this world. B'koach otzam he'aroso. V'hu neshama daka ma'od ma'od. What does it mean, neshama daka ma'od? This is a level of the soul that's very, very daka, very, 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 very sublime. V'hi nikra yechida. That's called yechida. That meeting of that spark that comes from the infinite one himself, with the deepest part of that elokus that's in the person. It's the reunification of Ein Sof with that chelik elokamimal that's in the person. That's a chelik of the nivra. That reunification is called yechida. Yechida liyachdav. Yechida liyachdav. Valanitzos hanizkar nemar, and this is not something that is possible or present in somebody who's not Jewish. Regarding this, the Torah says, Banim atem l'Hashem lokeichem. Banim atem l'Hashem lokeichem, v'ani amarti elokim atem. Hashem has said, I have said about you, my children, the Jewish people, elokim atem. Now, elokim atem means that you and I share something in common, Hashem says to each one of us. Elokim atem means that there's a chelik of myself that's within you. That's called Yechida Sheb'Nefesh. I did not give it to the nations of the world. I gave this Nakuda of myself only to you. Hashem creates everything, and everything exists only because of the Or Hashem that fills and surrounds all of creation. But this level of Ein Sof, the Kivyochel, the Etzem of Ein Sof himself, that reunites with that Yechida Sheb'Nefesh, that's Yechida L'Yachdav. Regarding that, it says, Ani Amarti Elokim Atem, Elokim Atem, Uvnei Elyon Kulchem. Uvnei Elyon, it's something else. It's something that's only a Jew, only Am Yisrael. What this means is that it can come only like you see that there's a yichud between the father and the son, between a parent and a child, that the child contains the parent's mitzias. The child contains the parent's mitzias within him, which we understand physically, and the genes and all that stuff. But this is the Yechid L'Yachdav. And then when we say Kriya Shema, to have that Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, what that means, and what it means, Al Shem Yichudecha by Avinu Malkeinu, to give up our lives, Al Shem Yichudecha, the Messiachid Hashem, and all of the Yichudim that the Mekubalim are Isaac in, with the Shemus of Hashem and all the Kavanas of the Arizal and the Rashash and the Ramchal and all the Mekubalim that they're Isaac in, is only to a way to imagine on some level being in that place, in that world. But actually giving oneself up, Al Kiddush Hashem, that's in the Dashti B'Soich B'nei Yisrael. Kol HaKavanis, That's what he explains. The Kol HaKavanas, V'yichudei HaMachshava B'rozei HaShemas, all of the Kavanas, in all of the Sidurim and the Svarim, and all these Yichudei Machshava, these very, very deep thoughts, B'rozei HaShemas, with Hashem's names, Einem Ele Kelim. These are Kelim, these are appliances. These are Kelim, very, very remarkable Kelim that Hashem Baruch revealed through the tzaddikim. These Kelim, these appliances, a way to connect, La'otzem hayichud hapnimi. To while one is alive, there should be a connection. La'otzem hayichud hapnimi. Now, you shouldn't be messiahish, Chalila, just to think that, this yichudim, what am I going to do about this? Now, you remember that when the famous story, when the Baal Shem HaKadosh had these Aliyas Neshama, Rosh Hashanah, and he met Mashiach in Gan Eden, and he asked Mashiach, Mosei Ka'asei Mar, right? He asked Mashiach when he's coming. So Baruch Hashem, we have a very famous nigun when Mashiach tells the Baal Shem Tov, when your wellsprings will go forth, which means, of course, that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Arizal, Baal Shem HaKadosh, when those wellsprings go forth. But there was a second thing that he told him, which is not in a song, because people might get very depressed by the second part of it. Because the second part was, he said that everybody, all Jews, will be able to be miyachid yichudim k'maischa. They'll be able to perform these yichudim, these unifications, like you. So how are you supposed to sing a song about that? That we're all supposed to be the Baal Shem Tov, to be miyachid yichudim k'maischa. So that's when Mashiach is going to come. There's part A, there's part B. We're happy we're trying to do that. But then what does that mean? So Mashiach didn't leave the Baal Shem Tov. It was something to leave to us, to Chalila, cause us to become depressed or to give up or to forget it. It's never happening. So we need to understand. And all the Svarim talk about this, and I'll discuss this a little bit more in Mitzvah on Shabbos. The Indian of what does that mean? Lefi Madrega Seinu. Yichudim K'moischa. What does that mean? Yichudim K'moischa. It's a very big subject in Chassidus. Yichudim K'moischa, to explain what is it that Mashiach said to the Baal Shem Tov. What does that mean? Yichudim K'moischa. We should be able to perform Yichudim like you. It means that every single Jew, every man, woman, and child, should be able to miyachid yichudim like the Baal Shem Tov. Which there are a lot of people that can't even spell the words Baal Shem Tov. Forget about miyachid yichudim k'moischa, the Baal Shem Tov. So, this is a very big subject in Chassidus. Miyachid yichudim k'moischa. We'll talk about it, Mr. Hashem. He says here that all of the kavanas are just kelim. The yichud itself, however, is higher than anything that could be, even in the names of Hashem, any letters or words or thoughts. One can't even speak about this avodah of dveikus and v'sachtos if there wouldn't be this reality within us, this yichidush b'nefesh, we wouldn't be able to talk about this b'chlal. There would be no possibility of achieving dveikus in the fullest way. However, because we have this part of us, that's yichidush b'nefesh, we are able to talk about this. We can't describe the experience. There are no words for that. But we are able to draw from that aura of yichud even into this Havaya HaNefredes, even into this physical world. And that's when the Baal Shem Tov was told, Yichudim K'moischa means human beings, not only there's an Aliyas Neshama, because the Baal Shem Tov wasn't in the world when he had that experience. He was out of this world. He was gone. I mean, he came back to talk about it, but he had an Aliyas Neshama. But the Tachlis is Liyachid Yichudim K'moischa in this world, which is really what all of the Baal Shem Tov, what all Chassidus is about. The holding of Dir B'Tachtainim, and that there should be Chudim K'moischa. But it doesn't have to be to the Al Kiddush Hashem. It could be like the Baal Shem Tov himself spoke about, the Alter Rebbe spoke about, the person who's busy at work and it's a hard day and he's got a lot of things going on. He's making money, he's losing money, losing money, and all of a sudden he sees that the sun is about to set. He goes Gewalt and he goes and washes his hands because he didn't have mincha yet, and he doesn't even have a minion. He doesn't have time. He just goes to some corner someplace and he cracks out an ashrei, a fast ashrei and a shemoneh esrei. And the Baal Shem HaKadosh, the Baal Tanya, the other tzaddikim describe how malachim are srafim are on fire from this Jew and his shemoneh esrei. So we need to understand on our madrega, what is that yichud, that this person's barely able to catch his breath, he's rushing through shemoneh esrei so quickly. So what is that? What kind of a yichud is this? Obviously, the madregas and madregas. The ideal is to have presence of mind, but that's also a yichud. But he's stopping his entire life. He stopped his entire life. He goes, "Oi, it's going to be shkia." I didn't, or if it's a chassid, it's almost tes chavim, or it's already tes chavim. It's almost Rabbeinu Tam. So I didn't daven. I didn't daven. That moment, I didn't daven. I didn't daven, or for whatever reason, the person wasn't able to. They weren't able to daven Ma'aviv Tzibur, or they were, but they wanted to count Sefira later. And you're lying there, and it's 2:00 in the morning, and your eyes are opening up, and you're just going over there a little bit, and then wait, you didn't count. You didn't count Sefira. And you get up and you put on your robe and you go and you wash your hands and you take out the Sili Shem Yichush. It's an unbelievable thing. Not that one should do that on purpose, obviously, you try to remember. But that Indian of something that's, at this moment, there's something that's more important to me than anything that my body is telling me. And all that your body is telling you is to just, no, what you'll say without a bracha or something like that, and then you'll continue the next day, it'll be all right. Tov. No. You put on the robe, you wash your hands, you go to take out a siddur, and you say L'Shem Yichud, and you make a bracha, Al Sfir Soim. It's Nevaldig Gezah. Liachid Yichudim Kamoischa, because we have to understand, that is an act of Mesirus Nefesh. And B'negdashti means Mesirus Nefesh, not only when a person dies. The highest madrega is, we understand. But what Mesirus Nefesh means, we need to talk more about to understand. So even that kind of Mesirus Nefesh, of just getting up and counting Sefira or something, or stopping everything to go to Mincha, even that, there is that surrender of the self on some level, and there is a yichud that's taking place. You're in a situation that's very uncomfortable, where God is making you uncomfortable. And the Rebbeinu Shalom is telling you, do something that you don't want to do. Do something you don't want to do. You don't want to do this. Do this. And at that moment, there's a little bit of a taste of the spark returning to the fire and the drop returning to the ocean. Our problem is we don't follow up with that. We never follow it through. We just, if the person would stay up and then be Isaac and Tikkun Chatzais, sit down with ashes and take out Tikkun Chatzais and then continue on till Ales HaShachar to daven, nights, Vasikin in that place. Say that we don't follow up, but there are ways, and in certain ways, the tachlis is that this yichida should be experienced not having to die. Not having to die. Which is in the parish also. V'chai b'hem. But the only way that one can even speak about these things is because we have that in us. We have that. It's in the heart. Is hardware the right word? It's part of us. It's there. It's inside of us. And with that, a person's able to draw somehow from that spark that the Rashash was talking about, that spark of Ein Sof. He's able to draw it into that, and to have a little dance with the Elokus that's inside of himself, with the Chelik Elokah, where the Chelik becomes for a moment the chelik does a dance with the whole thing, with the ein sof. Gamal havai in the nefredes. In this havai nefredes, in this world that's a world of separation, of sheker, and so on. She machshavas adam kavanas liba, v'kol levushen v'sifehen, which has to do with the person's kavanas. A human being is a human being. He's a finite human being, and still, with proper thinking and kavanas, a person is able to have this connection. Nakuda atzmizu, this nakuda atzmis, this nakuda of the very essence of oneself, which is God, which is Elokus, which is Hashem. He or hayichida, that is the or of yichida. V'nekudas hakodesh shel hayichudim. Blo oira v'shifa ein mavel or hayichudim. Without this reality of the yichida within us, one could not even. There's no such thing as yichudim and all the things in the shemus of Hashem and all these techniques of reaching. It wouldn't be possible. It's only because we're wired that these things mean anything. Umesek noim kedushas, umesek, and the sweetness and the pleasantness of the kedusha. Yichida zu latucha l'sayim mishum rayon halakuach me'elam hamubalim. And it's impossible. That's why somebody that's not Jewish can't reach yichida. Mishum rayon, because there's no such thing as a certain idea. Maybe if I concentrate on a certain concept, but if you're not wired for it, the fact that you concentrate on that, I don't know how any of these things work, but I know that there's such a thing that if you have a connection, let's say now people are able to use their phone. I never saw this, but I was told, and I heard there is such a thing. Your phone, you could be in Eretz Yisrael, and you could turn off your lights in your house in New York, right? You could turn on your light, you could turn on the alarm, you could on and off, you could turn on the air conditioning. You have some friend of yours that's going to use your house for Shabbos. You're in Yerushalayim, so you could take care of and cool off the house for him with your phone. You're holding your phone, right? There is such a mitzvah. That you could turn on your phone. You press a button on your phone, the air conditioning goes on in New York. So there's such a thing. It's because the only way that can work is if you stand there with your phone and you say, you don't have that app, and you just say, turn on the air conditioner at home. So it sits there, the thing, that's all you're talking about. It's only if there's a shidduch. If there's a shidduch, I guess like the way Wi-Fi works or whatever, if there's a shidduch, so then that or can come into contact with your or, with your little separate piece of or, which is sitting in your phone, which is a piece of that or, and there's able to be this shidduch, thousands of miles away, with this bigger or. So a Jew has that app. A Jew has that app of Yechida. It's an app. And you'll forgive me, a guy, even the new Pope himself, you heard there's an American Pope. So until now, all the anti-Semites only spoke in Italian, Latin, and other languages. Now we're going to have an English-speaking anti-Semite. So, oh no, maybe he's a nice guy. I have reason to be chayshe. So he could be the most brilliant, religious, spiritual guy in the world. He doesn't have the app. And Moshe Kapaya, the guy that ran out of the butcher shop, the back of his butcher shop, the Dav Milcha, Moshe Kapaya's got the app. He has the app. So who's more spiritual? The Pope or Lahavdil, Moshe Kapaya? Say the Pope is thinking about God, Moshe Kapaya is thinking about the customer waiting for him. There's no dimyon at all. That doesn't mean that Moshe Kapaya doesn't have to use the app. You have to use it, but he has it. So the app that we have is called Yechida Shebenefesh. That's the app. And because of that, and he says without that, Yechida Zu Lo Sucha L'Soy Mishum Rayin Lo Koch Me'elam Esam Gvolim. You can't access that light with any ideas or concepts or thoughts or spirituality or guitars or whatever it is. You can't do it because this is Noam Hamugbal. Even the biggest thoughts of a person are with a gvul. They all have a gvul because we're finite human beings. It can't be. Rak echad hu asher kol sa'elav, rak hu asher elav tishtakik, v'hat Hashem l'kecha b'chol avav, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol meidecha, afilu hu noitlas nafshecha, hevi mardel b'moy mard, like the Gemara says. I feel noitless nafshecha. The hafta is only possible because a Jew has this app of b'chol nafshecha. B'chol nafshecha, my life is nothing. Nafshi v'sicha b'layla. My life is nothing. Nothing. I give up my life for you in a second. Nothing. Nothing. It means nothing. And even though there's a hechet timsa, that there was some saint that was burned at the cross, and he or she was moist and nefesh to give up her life for the church of Isai Ish, whatever it is. That's b'chlal not. That's all an idea. It's all a concept, and it's all not lishma. It's not lishma. It's almanas. It's in order to get something, either in this world or the next world. The Muslims have something they want to get in the next world. The Christians have something they want to get in the next world. A Jew, ein lich shum chayvetz, klum. Only Hashem. There's no such thing. Yichidish b'nefesh. Yichid l'yachdach. Hashem l'keinu Hashem echad. Shum davar. Nothing. V'kiva kadosh Hashem, we'll just finish this in the Avon. V'kiva kadosh Hashem, hu ha-miyuchel elokav, asher nezar kodesh al roisha. V'kiva. Rabbi Shimon's Rebbe, Rabbi Kiva, the way that he waited his whole life to be able to call Yomai. All of my life, I was waiting for this opportunity. So, because the Talmidim were asking Rabbeinu, even my whole life. What do you mean even now? My whole life I'm waiting because he was saying Kriya Shema. Call Yom Vitztaro Mekuzah. My whole life I was waiting to be able to Mekayim this pasuk in its fullest way. Of course, he was, but in the greatest way. Like it says in the Gemara, when will I have the opportunity to make this what? Mesirus nefesh al kiddush Hashem Hashem al keinu Hashem echad. Yotza nishmaso be'echad, and that's how his neshama left it. Be'echad, which means yichida. Ba'or kedushas hayichud v'hayo kodesh. Ba'or kedushas hayichud v'hayo kodesh. We'll finish this on the next time. We'll go back into the Seder. Should we daven here? Should we daven here? I don't know. Is room to daven here, or we can daven here? You're staying for me? You have a minute? Shalom.